and welcome to this very special preview show ahead of the hotly anticipated fight this weekend against Anthony Joshua and Wladimir Klitschko at Wembley. We're here at Punch London, and I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Mason and the man that runs the show here, Mr. Don Charles. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Very good, thank you. Now, obviously, we are all boxing fans. How excited are you that in a few days' time, this amazing show is going to unfold for us all?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's been long coming. England in the last 10 years or so has been picking up momentum regarding boxing, and I've never known it like this. And in every weight category, we're representing, the fighters are representing, and this is almost the climax of it. And I'm very excited.
And talk us through the whole setup here, because you've got a really lovely gym here, and obviously some exciting fighters in your stable.
Yeah, most definitely. Again, I've been in the industry as a coach for the last 15 years, and you know, slowly, all the fighters were developing young fighters to help them get to their dream, to achieve their dreams. And I've got quite a few fighters here in all different weight categories. Mostly known for Derek Chisora, whom I'm still training. Also, I train Frank Buglioni, the current British light heavyweight champion. I've got Josh Burnham, Jordan Joseph, Nick Papa, Ian Lewison. I've got all throughout the weights, and I've never also had this privilege to have as many fighters as I have now.
And obviously your son, who we met earlier, who's a big boy, just about to be
he is not lacking in size.
let off the leash.
he's
your secret.
He's my secret.
Yeah.
No, he's come of age, and he's my son. I've been training him since the age of 10, and he's grown into a real heavyweight, and he's coming through, learning his craft. He's watched all these guys who I've mentioned. Like Derek, he's watched Derek as he was growing up, and naturally I wanted him to be a footballer, and they opted to one day said, "Dad, no, I want to do boxing," because he's grown with it.
At that size, he could probably only be an American footballer anyway.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, he's a nice grounded lad as well. He's got his feet on the ground, and you know, it's so nice to see when you see young prospects like that who still, know where they come from and what they're all about. But what a great opportunity to grow up around someone like Derek. Especially as a fellow heavyweight.
Absolutely. I mean, he's learned so much. He's been a good inspiration for him to see what Derek has gone on to achieve.
And the hard work.
And the hard work it takes, the dedication it takes to get there. So hopefully, he's
that perfect size now, heavyweight, and he's 6'6", 17 plus stone, but athletic. He doesn't look, you wouldn't look and go, God, he's 240 pounds.
Absolutely. I mean, that seems to be the trend. I don't know what it is. Something in the water?
Yeah, no, I know.
These boys are getting bigger.
Yeah.
These boys are getting bigger. And yes, that seems to be the trend of the heavyweights. They're all 6'4" plus.
Yeah. But athletic build, rather than the old heavyweights, you look at Larry Holmes and Foreman.
They were beautiful.
Yeah.
Again, it's the times, and everything changes. The food, there's a lot of attention paid towards nutrition these days. And hence why all these modern day, this generation, should I say,
so athletic.
Human beings in general.
Yeah.
They seem to be educating themselves more, even like the scientific side to nutrition and performance and everything.
Absolutely, there's a lot of attention paid towards that now.
Yeah, and recovery and everything else. All
is your son looking to turn pro soon?
Most definitely, that's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Exciting?
Right now. Oh, very exciting. Obviously, as a father.
Will you look to obviously work together, or is that coming in between a father-son relationship? It's been very successful in boxing in the past.
No, because he's grown with me in the sense that he's my son. He's seen it all from the age of 6. I allowed him to start coming to the gyms, and he started to see it, smell the atmosphere,
fear.
Exactly. He's seen it all. So it's only a natural progression, I think. I didn't ask him to become a boxer.
No.
He opted to, this is what I want to do. Again, he's still to be tested and proven that he can do it. We'll soon see.
Well, obviously, going back to heavyweight division.
And body beautiful.
Yeah. So yes, there's two rather, I wouldn't say body beautiful, but let's go back obviously to the big fight this weekend. Talk us through how you see it unfolding, obviously who you believe will be victorious and raising their hand at the end of the night, and why? From your angle as a coach, as a trainer, what do you think is going to be the determining factor in the end?
It's kind of a hard one to call. I'm normally very sure and very precise in my predictions in the past. This one, I keep going back
Yeah,
and forth.
everyone says that.
Which makes it really interesting.
Yeah.
I think the whole nation, if anybody is, you couldn't really tell me that this is how it's going to be.
You wouldn't put your house on it,
No.
would you? Either way.
No, so it's one of those fights. Some mornings I wake up, I say, that person. Next day I wake up, that person, that boxer. How do I see it? There's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors. I'll start with Klitschko. Klitschko's advantages are he's very, very experienced. He's had every style he has fought against. He's fought small man, big man, middle man.
Speed, power.
Everything. And this guy has the capacity to employ in his preparation the best of the best money can buy. He's the type of character that fighter that has capacity to accommodate up to 8 sparring partners in one succession.
And we know he can make adjustments. When Manny Stewart came in, he completely changed him as a fighter.
Absolutely.
And he'd sort of developed into his own style of fighter, which was successful up until he walked into Corey Sanders and the other fella. But he has that ability to make adjustments. And I was saying to that earlier, I think that's going to be a key factor. That if in the fight it just gets a little bit awkward for him, Klitschko does have that ability where he can make adjustments, on the fly.
And that's all, I guess that's all down to experience, isn't it? He's been in every situation he can be in a ring, which Joshua hasn't. Well, he hasn't even gone past 7 rounds, so he hasn't had to tread those difficult waters later on in a fight.
Like, that's one of the factors. Like I said, he has the capacity to employ 8 to 10 sparring partners in preparation. So he's going to get the styles, and he's sparred all different styles in the past. That's the advantages for Klitschko. The disadvantages for him is a very apprehensive fighter. Yeah, it doesn't initiate, hates to engage early in the fight. He's got a very good footwork, okay, which is going to stand him in good stead. I don't believe he's going to go and stand in front of Joshua. If he does that, it'll be an early night.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, they've been working on a lot of lateral movement, which he's going to need.
Yeah.
Right. Those are his positives. In the downside for Klitschko, the positives for Joshua. He's got a tremendous ramrod jab, one of the fastest and best 1-2s you've ever seen. Frank Bruno had a good 1-2s. Yeah. Anthony Joshua's 1-2s are better. They're faster. You don't see them coming. Yeah. Very, very sharp. Very precise. Yeah. Anthony Joshua very, very rarely misses punches. He's very fast and very accurate. So when you've weighed up all the advantages, disadvantages that each fighters have, I'm afraid Anthony Joshua's advantages outweighs Klitschko's advantages. Age is a massive factor.
Yeah.
Massive factor. How old is he? 41?
41.
40,
right.
41 now.
Just.
Yeah.
Fortunately,
but he's pretty good nick for a 41-year-old.
Fortunately for Klitschko, he has kept himself well all throughout his career.
Yeah.
He's an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, once a jab, Anthony Joshua's jab or a right hand connects, he will age rapidly.
And retreat.
Instantly. That's what happens, unfortunately. Right. So, going by that, that's why I swear towards our homeboy, Anthony Joshua. The younger man, is a very determined young man, I must tell you.
You don't get a body like that if you don't work hard.
He's very determined. And I believe, provided, and I don't think he'll be fazed by the occasion. I don't believe he'll be.
He made his debut at the O2 in front of 25,000 people.
He's an Olympic
wasn't
gold medalist.
Yeah.
I don't believe he'll be fazed by the occasion. He'll thrive on it. He's that type of character. Okay? I think you're going to see him. He'll come out. He'll be a little bit apprehensive initially. A bit of respect to Klitschko.
Yeah.
Right? Once the first round goes through, if it goes past 1. Don't be surprised for an early now, I'm telling you now. I've seen this fight so many times. And I've had the privilege of studying with Wladimir Klitschko because Derek Chisora once upon a time was supposed to fight him.
Yes,
so I've had the privilege of watching hours and hours of footage on Klitschko. So my prediction will be, may I predict?
Please do.
Right, is that it's Anthony Joshua.
By knockout?
Yeah.
This fight, either way,
Yeah.
I'm going for Anthony Joshua. Either way, is going to end in a stoppage. Yeah.
Okay, devil's advocate here. Looking through Anthony Joshua's previous opponents, clearly Klitschko is levels above anyone he's ever fought before. We have never seen his chin tested. Klitschko can punch. You know, out of his 68 bouts, 64 wins, a very good knockout ratio. How do you think Joshua, if he does get caught, how do you think the chin will fare?
Well,
we don't know, obviously,
right,
but
we don't know. The fact is don't get caught in the first place. Number one. Number two, he's a human being that breathes oxygen. So therefore, if you get clipped, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm afraid you're going down.
Especially with two
the
big
heavyweights.
heavyweights.
yeah.
I mean, we did see his chin get checked against Dillian White, who's not a puncher. So, that's a worry. That's the worry for me. But also, Klitschko's whiskers are not the greatest in the world.
Absolutely.
But as Don says, in the heavyweight, they can all punch. Some can punch a lot harder than others, and some can hold a shot better than others. But
you made a point. You said that both guys who are of the same stature, the same height.
Yeah.
They're not going to go looking for it. They're there. They're in range. And it's basically also comes down to who strikes first. You've seen the Wild Wild West. Too fast gunslingers. Whoever pulls and draws first wins. And I believe it'll be the younger man.
And because of the Fury fight, we've seen it. Klitschko just didn't want to let the trigger go. He just didn't. He was just gun shy throughout the whole fight. And if he goes into, as Don says, if he goes into a fight with someone like Joshua, who is just a hungry lion right now,
Do you read a lot from the loss to Tyson Fury? Do you think Joshua should take much from that, or could that have been a fluke or a bad day?
No, it wasn't a fluke. I can't say this now to beat Klitschko, Wladimir Klitschko. So I said earlier on, I've had the privilege of studying hours and hours, and I've sat literally the same distance on the table with Chisora and Klitschko. To beat Wladimir Klitschko, you have to mentally destroy him, which is what the fight with Fury was won at the press conferences. Okay.
Oh, did he mentally broke him down?
Right. Before he entered the ring, Klitschko, he was a beaten man. His morale was very, very low. Yeah.
Vitaly said that, didn't he? He said he wasn't. He wasn't himself.
It was very, very low, because you have to credit our man Fury, because the great late Muhammad Ali used to use the same tactics. He used to beat you before you got into the ring, verbally.
But I think Fury's tactics in that fight were spot on. He just kept it long, movement.
Most definitely. He's underrated with such a big man to move. The agility to move and to spoil it for not let Klitschko set. He never allowed him to set, to release that power.
I mean, for his purists, it's not probably the prettiest thing to watch in the world, but ultimately he set out his goal was to be the heavyweight.
Absolutely.
In history, and when it says on the belts, it won't say how he won the fight. It just put his name is in history, and that's all he wanted.
Absolutely.
And you've got to give him credit for it.
You have to credit him all day long. You have to credit him. Remember, this man has not been beaten for 10, 11 years.
11 years.
Right.
And nobody give him a shot either. Nobody give Fury a shot.
The other thing is, we talked about pressure, and we mentioned this earlier, that this is the first time Klitschko enters a ring as the challenger. No pressure, technically, nothing to lose. Having said that, you've got Anthony Joshua, the whole country behind him, 90,000 fans in his home stadium with the belt. It's different levels of pressure. So I don't know. Again, that's another factor on the night. It's a factor,
of course. Now, when we say no pressure on Klitschko, yes, there is pressure on Klitschko. This could potentially be his last fight, because he doesn't want to go out and his legacy will be ruined if 2 losses back to back.
Especially if he got knocked out.
Absolutely, right? So he's here to protect not just his legacy. So there is a pressure on that front.
I think it's a crossroad fight for both of them in certain ways. I mean, it's not all over for Joshua unless he gets banged out early. Unless his chin gets...
The hunger levels for both of them, you've got Klitschko with the 3-time world champion reward at the end, and you've got Joshua, then undisputed, like you said, the avenues are
potentially
so
which way it
exciting
could go.
for both of them. But interesting how the word Klitschko keeps using, because you mentioned mentality of going into this fight. Klitschko keeps using the word obsessed. He's obsessed. That's all he keeps saying. He's obsessed.
He is.
And we both know they're very hungry. Can that obsession push him over the line, or actually be detrimental to a game plan on the night?
That obsession could also be disastrous for Klitschko.
Klitschko's obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say
Maybe try too hard.
emotionally it can mess up a game plan.
We can all be obsessed in many things in life. You have to be very careful. Everything in moderation.
Got to be measured.
Yeah, not to the degree where it could be to his detriment.
Yeah.
Especially boxing, everything's got to be calculated.
Yeah.
You know, it's done your preparation, your weights. You know, not for the heavyweight. Well, it is important for heavyweights, but you know, everything is calculated in boxing. There's nothing, no stone can be left unturned. And if anybody's like it, but they're both similar. You know, you look at Klitschko. It's scientific, isn't it? Their camp, the nutrition, the recovery, you know, all these things that we're seeing coming out now in boxing that fighters are using. They were using a long time ago.
Most definitely, they were far more advanced than most.
If it plays out a little bit like a chess match initially, and Joshua doesn't come out guns blazing and kind of just they weigh each other up. If it starts getting 7th, 8th round, Klitschko has smothered all the biggest shots Joshua can throw. Do you believe Joshua will have the physicality, the stamina, the mentality to, and it's the lack of experience of having gone into a latter rounds of a huge fight, which Klitschko clearly has done. Do you think if it gets to that level and gets to that stage in a fight, where do you see it?
Right, that's another factor. If should that fight go into the later rounds, then Klitschko must be doing something right. He must be doing something right. And then it's a question of which, because they're both carrying a lot of muscles. Right? Fatigue. This is a big factor. Yeah. Okay? Those muscles are not built for fighting.
No.
Right. It's a question of who's got the best. When I use the word chemist, do not misinterpret it. No. Who's got the best physician, the best nutritionist. Right. Fatigue. Muscles, fatigue, make you fatigue quicker.
Yeah. So it's what Bruno's problem was,
absolutely.
Wasn't it?
So therefore, that's a big factor. If the fight goes into the later rounds, they're both muscular guys. So it's a question of which muscle man is going to fatigue quicker than the other muscle man.
Yeah, I think if it goes long, I think it's all about Klitschko. I think he's got so much experience, and I'd worry for.
I was about to say I haven't actually had a prediction from you yet.
I'd worry with Joshua if it goes down that stretch, that 8, that 9. Will he think? Am I behind on points? Should I try and knock him out, or should I just keep it long? Yeah. You know, and that's a risk as well. You go long with that left hook of Klitschko. Joshua hasn't really had to think for very long in a fight, has he?
No, he hasn't.
I think it's a total fight of two halves, personally.
That's why I don't see it. It's a fight of two halves. I totally agree with you. If it can pan out that way, where, like I said, if it goes into the later rounds at 8, 9, means Klitschko has been doing something right. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I think Josh will jump on him, and I believe he should gamble, not recklessly. And I think Robert McCracken would have devised a good game. And Anthony Joshua, let me tell you something, he's a smart kid.
Yeah, he knows his boxing. Yeah. Oh, he's a boxing fan.
Right. So I believe they've studied Klitschko, and they will every game plan. If I were, let's say, for instance, training Joshua for this fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, what would you advise as the game plan?
They say if it's not broken, don't mend it. Okay, don't try and mend it. Be cautious, but take it to the man. Yeah. Take it to him.
Put it on him, but calculated pressure.
Yeah.
Be aggressive. Don't show respect. Be dirty. In a way.
Take it to him. Yeah. This is what Anthony's been doing for the last previous 18 fights. Yeah. Okay.
Just walking him down and banging him out.
Yes, it's Klitschko. We have to recognize that. Yes, he's got the experience. Make him feel his age. Make him work. Yeah. You've got the youth.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Take it, make him work, take him out of his comfort zone.
Don't let him hold.
I don't believe he'll be able to hold Joshua. No, Joshua's too big.
Yeah, too strong.
Yeah, so he won't get away with that 1-2 hold.
No.
He won't get away with that, Klitschko, this time. No. I believe if he tries that, it will be even at an earlier night.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, but he gets in that, because he'll be in shooting range by then. If he tries to hold, then he will get banged out. I think he's got to keep it long. But I think pretty much everybody's gone for the same sort of thing. It's either an early night for Joshua or a long, tough night for Klitschko. And on my money, it's staying firmly in my pocket. Yeah. If you forced me to have a pound anywhere, I'd probably have it on Klitschko, maybe 8, 9, or 10.
Ooh, so early knockout.
Joshua at any point, but I believe it'll be early.
Well, guys, we're a few days away. I know we're all crazy excited. Don, thank you so much for having us here.
It's a pleasure.
Lovely and great to hear you talk about it.
Well, if we didn't already know how big a fight this was, we've got the one and only Radio Raheem, all the way from the States. to cover this fight for his fans. How you doing, mate?
I'm always great when I get to London. This is my favorite second home. So I'm glad you keep having big fights here, so I've got an excuse to come over and somebody to pay for it.
Well, you've got a few of your own coming up in the next few months, but this is a big fight. Is it being received well in America?
You know, this fight I think will be the one that makes Joshua Klitschko the fight that will mark when Americans became Joshua fans. Not that I'm even saying that he has to win this fight to win American fans, but I know his work ethic and the way he's going to pursue this win and this championship, that American fans will be seeing him for the first time and really recognizing what kind of potential he has. And if he's victorious, of course, he'll be a rival for what they consider to be the heavyweight championship for real, which is Deontay Wilder's strap. You know, the WBC green belt, especially in America, is thought of as, you know, the gold standard. So yeah, I think this fight is the one that puts the heavyweight division back on the global map. Here, you guys have been excited. You guys have been behind Joshua for quite a while. Klitschko,
and we've had Fury.
And Fury. I've found people don't like Fury. Not even before all the ridiculousness. He wasn't received well. So Josh was like, you know, the golden boy, and they love him here, but they're just learning about him in the States. And this fight is going to be like his big coming out party.
You talk about him being on the world stage and America waking up to seeing what he's all about. It's the third time it's actually being shown on HBO and Showtime, so it sort of shows the magnitude of how they deem this fight as well.
I think it shows the magnitude of the pettiness of our networks in America.
Fair enough.
Hopefully, this fight will be the best of the three that have been split that way. This fight, I think, has a potential to be more exciting than any other Klitschko fight ever. Hopefully, because of his motivation to redeem himself, even if in his own eyes. I think he's more motivated this time to perform better and knows that this is a serious undertaking that he's stepping in the ring. This is either the finish for him or a glorious return, right? And not even
almost Ali-esque.
Right, yeah, right. I mean, not even a stoic Klitschko could miss the fervor of this moment, the electricity that's going to be at Wembley.
Yeah, I mean, there's no bigger reward than becoming 3-time world champion again.
He's in
an elite list there if he does.
And he can call Fury a fluke for real then, you know, which I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I'm no big Fury fan.
We wanted to ask you on that. Do you believe it was just a bad day in the office, or, you know, could this be towards the end of, you know, could it be a little past his time? I mean, everyone is wanting to know what that fight was all about.
I can't steal the victory from Fury that way, and that, it's just a bad day at the office for Klitschko. I think a lot of things collided at once. Klitschko was going through the motions, had become used to the same old drill, not having to put in so much work to get the victory, the same 1-2, long jab, big right hand, hug, step back, Boris to sleep, and eventually his opponent falls asleep too. That's been the routine.
And they couldn't slow the ring down. Remember, they had all that foam in the ring.
I mean, I don't think you could slow down a Klitschko fight no matter what. Does it get any slower than that?
I think they were trying to slow Fury down. It would have been like him fighting in sand.
Yeah.
You know, quicksand.
And to that point, a guy coming in that's usually punching down and knocking smaller guys in the head for 10 years, and then you meet a guy who's about your size, which we're going to see Saturday night, two guys who are huge and used to being bigger than their opponents, looking eye to eye, starting to punch up, punch eye level. Sometimes that's enough to change the game and frustrate you. Fury came in with the perfect game plan. I mean, he knew how to engage Klitschko.
Do you think it did kind of, you know, with the whole ring and then there was issues with the gloves beforehand as well?
I just think
do you think it did make a big difference?
They totally underestimated Fury, and I think Fury definitely got under Klitschko's skin. You could tell he was rattled by him 100%. Because, as Raheem said, most fighters were already scared before they got in there. He had that invincibility about him, although he knew there were some vulnerabilities. But those seem to be, you know, what did he go on, 11-year streak? Mm-hmm. You know, 22-fight streak or something. I mean, you know, the guy looked pretty unbeaten, and most experts in this country felt that Fury was going to get blown away because they think he was rubbish. But he moves very well. He's awkward. He's game. He has no fear. He has no quit in him.
He knows how to frustrate an opponent, not mentally and physically. That's really his whole card. You know, I don't think he's a proficient fighter. He's
No.
not. He's definitely not going to be moving around in boxing.
Gifted, like,
right.
You know, like a Joshua or a Klitschko. There's no real technique there. He's just very good at what he does, and he's a great spoiler.
Well, we want to know roughly where do you think this fight is going? What's your ultimate prediction, I guess?
I think
And
this
why?
fight is going to be the biggest test Joshua's ever had. And if I predict correctly, the mentality that Klitschko comes in with, it's going to be a war people haven't expected. When I hear people discuss the fight, even in America, people who are familiar with Joshua already, and obviously everybody knows Klitschko by now, they think Joshua's just going to wash him. You know,
Really?
yeah, he's young, he's athletic, he's exciting, he's been knocking guys out. He hasn't gone past what is like the 8th round. So they think that that's enough, but what we know about boxing is experience matters. We know that you can set traps for a guy. We know that when you've been going 12 rounds your whole career, when you've seen all different kinds of styles, when you've been in there for as long as Klitschko has, a young fighter sometimes can be overwhelmed by the experience and the ability to move the fight in your direction stylistically in a way that Joshua hasn't seen before. So he's definitely the better athlete. This is a young man's game, but I think Klitschko's savvy, and he comes in with the motivation to really pull out every tool he's got in the shed, and we're looking at a war.
Do you think pressure is going to play a massive part in terms of you've got Joshua going in there as the champion. For the first time in Klitschko's career, he's going in as the challenger. But then obviously you have Joshua walking in effectively home advantage, 90,000 fans screaming his name. And then you've got Klitschko walking in what's known as the Lion's Den. So there's different levels of pressure. But like I said, Klitschko's never really been the challenger. He's got nothing to lose.
Does he think he's the challenger, though?
True.
I think Klitschko was walking in there like a guy is sitting on the throne in his castle.
Yeah.
He's going to come in to reclaim what's rightfully his in his mind. He didn't get the rematch with Fury he feels he deserves and did. Joshua, in the vacuum, has gotten 2 titles and is fighting for these vacant titles. So now that these titles are vacant, Klitschko has not gotten the rematch. I truly believe he walks in there with a champion's mentality. And I'm not sure that the entire crowd at Wembley is going to be pro-Joshua. Klitschko's been around a long time. We're not that far from Eastern Europe hubs. This could be
That's a section of them.
Let's
go.
I
He used
expect
to sell out big arenas in Germany. Didn't he? So
a back and forth shout down.
Yeah.
So
It's exciting.
I think it's the old lion and the young lion. And is it time for a changing of the guard? And if it is, unfortunately for Klitschko's sake, I think that makes a great changing of the guard for boxing. It's time for the heavyweight division to come back to life. And Joshua can do that.
It'd be lovely to have a lovely, clean athlete like Joshua. Everybody looks up to him. He lives his life right. He's generous. He's really switched his life around, which we've seen recently in certain little videos where he went and bought his first boxing trainer a brand new car, and you could say it was done out of his own heart, not to show off or anything like that. You can tell he's a class human being, and it's
actually nice
it would
to
be
see
nice for the game.
Both of them, actually. There's been huge respect shown, which is rare in fights leading up to fights nowadays.
It didn't need hyping. It was sold out so quick. I mean, that must be quite fascinating in America as well, because I know you get that kind of gate for your American football matches, but for a boxing, a gate of we had 80,000 with Fox Groves, and that's been trumped 90,000. It's just madness.
You guys kill the game. That's a good thing. When
Thank
I say kill the
we
game,
know.
it's kill it in the right way. As you should. No, kudos on that. I wish American fans were engaged like British fans, Irish fans, even the Scottish. They come in, they watch the undercard fights, low card, even when the card's, it means something to them to be here for the fights, regardless to who the names are in the ring. To them, the sport has a certain reverence, and they show up. And it's a night of boxing. It's not just, we're gonna go see Klitschko, Joshua, and put on our fancy duds and show up right as the first bell of the main event occurs. And that's like a really Hollywood American attitude. Whereas here, the fight's right there in their belly, and they can't wait to get to the arena. You guys definitely lead in that feel. Like you guys really are the spirit of
a lot of
boxing.
young fighters as well, they rely on selling tickets. They get big fan base early on. I mean, I go to a lot of small shows, and you'll get some lad sells 300, 400, 500 tickets, and once he starts to get that following, it just seems to escalate. And very early in their career, way before championship fights, they're selling sort of 1,000-2,000 tickets, and I think that's what we rely on more in this country, especially with small shows to finance them. So in America, I think it's more of sort of a pay-per-view type industry and a more commercial to try and just get the numbers.
We need it in the bloodstream. I hope that this thing is infectious.
Yeah.
I really like that American fighters are coming over here to challenge for championships, to put their titles on the line. Obviously, UK fighters are game.
Yeah.
That rivalry, but also the willingness to work together and make big fights when they need to be made is going to be the best thing the sport of boxing has ever seen.
Wilder, Joshua, and
I was just
Vegas would be immense.
I was just about
Yeah.
to say a certain American fighter will be having a very close eye on this, Mr. Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, he had a press conference, or at least a conference call about this fight.
And what's he make of it all? Obviously, he's.
I don't know. I didn't call in. It seemed ridiculous.
I think he was chasing Parker, wasn't he? Because obviously Hughie Fury pulled out of the Joseph Parker fight, so he said, "I'll step in and I'll fight you for the, so they can unify two of the straps, I suppose."
Right.
It's a mouth-watering prospect, him against either fighter, really.
Yeah, and then we can get this unification happening, in one fight instead of three.
Yeah.
Look, there is nothing more important to the sport than the heavyweight championship, and it's been dormant in the sense that crown jewel has not been held by a charismatic guy that has global appeal and fights exciting. So it's not taking anything away from Klitschko personally, but just what's good for the sport and what's entertaining for the fans. We needed a heavyweight champion that really carries the crown in a way that brings people to the sport. Joshua can do that. Yeah. For that reason, I say his win is better for the fights.
I mean, does he have that poster boy-esque about
They don't know him like that yet. And
why? Why is that, though?
Because we're Americans and he's not. And that makes a difference. Like, we want an American heavyweight champion. We've got Deontay Wilder carrying that mantle. And the thrashing of these two in the ring together, the Brit, and yeah, you're right, it probably will be in Vegas, which is what I mean. It bleeds back. We come over here, make these fights, and then you come over and make the super huge fights. One thing I have to say, regardless of where the fan base is, you still got to make it in America. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you can climb that ladder here, you can build your throne, you can get your following, get everybody to pack Wembley in 90 minutes. But to be recognized as the world heavyweight champion, you got to come to America.
Ricky Hatton, Floyd Mayweather, what a weekend that was in Vegas. I mean, that just shows you how important it is to make that crossover. And Ricky's one of the few fighters that did that in America. They were fascinated. I mean, Vegas was just sold out with people from Manchester. It was an insane weekend. Yeah,
the only rival that UK fans have are Mexican fans. The atmosphere at Hatton Mayweather could only be rivaled by the atmosphere at Marquez Pacquiao 4. Yeah. Those fans, in both cases, were so excited, so rucks. The electricity in that building
on the TV as well.
was
it's very
insane.
Rare. You get that where it sort of literally transfers through your screen, but it did on that occasion. It was amazing.
The roof almost came off when Pacquiao was knocked out. I can't even imagine if Hatton had somehow pulled that off, what would have happened.
It would have been immense.
Finally, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Prediction, come this weekend.
I got Joshua late and a very taxing fight. I think that, like I say, this is a young man's game, and he's gonna have to figure some things out early. But ultimately, he's gonna wear on Klitschko, and that age will come into play. Klitschko's feet will get a little slow, that jab will get a little lazy. Joshua steps around it and starts to beat him up, and it'll probably stop him that way. If not, it'll be a unanimous decision.
Great. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting to us. Enjoy your time in London.
Thank you. I've got to go stretch now. Boxing yoga calls.
Boxing yoga in Tottenham.
See, I'm game for any aspect of this sport. If there's boxing in the title, I'm going to do it at least
Can you come
once.
back and tell us how you get on, please?
If I can come back. These guys might have to carry me. It's my first yoga session ever.
Will we see you on Saturday or two?
Guys, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I really love chatting with you. I've learned a bit, and I'll see you Saturday night.
Definitely. Look forward to it.
Look forward to it.
Absolutely delighted to welcome to the show another guest, Joe Crilly from the fight sponsors William Hill. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very excited now, just a couple of days to go.
Before we get involved with the odds and how much money's gone where, what do you fancy?
Well, like everybody who's been on before, I'm flip-flopping between the two. I think Anthony Joshua could get the job done relatively quickly, but I also think the tactical prowess of Wladimir Klitschko could see the fight go longer. In that case, it then starts to favour the former world champion.
Yeah, I've seen a few little bets that I've had a bit of interest in. I like a bit of 7-1 sometimes when I look at Klitschko, considering, as we spoke about earlier, most of his fights, although he does have a good knockout record, if it turns out to be one of them type of fights, he knows how to win, and he wins fairly boringly, but he knows how to get the job done, and I think that's a fair bit of value. I might wake up Sunday morning with my head in my hands asking myself why I didn't take a few quid off William Hill, but who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. If you look at the method of victory betting, we've got Joshua at 4-6 to win by KO, and actually Klitschko is more favourite to win by decision. Yeah. So, I mean, it really does reflect the fact that people are backing Joshua to win and get the job done quickly, but they're also backing Klitschko if it goes into the latter stages.
I mean, we all know it's a huge fight. How much is being, staked on this fight? How much money is being bet on it?
Well, I mean, we're looking at it in terms of the UK. We're looking at probably about 15 million, which would put it right up there as the single biggest boxing bout of all time in betting terms.
Really?
And worldwide, you're looking at something like 100 million quid.
When you think about the Grand National, which I should imagine is the most bet gambling thing you can do. What kind of money goes on that?
Yeah, what's the comparison?
So I mean, for a single race, you're looking at 60 million quid on the Grand National. That's UK only, so it's still well, it's 6 times smaller, give or take a couple of quid here or there. But I mean, for a boxing event,
match, it's
a serious numbers.
It is a huge amount. And actually, interestingly enough, I mentioned the UK figures. I mentioned the worldwide figures. If you look at the market for the UK, you've got 2-5 Joshua and 2-1 Klitschko. So that's put 5 quid on Joshua to get 2 quid back.
And that's to win by any method?
That's to win by any method, okay. Yeah. So Joshua very much the favourite in that one. That's where all of the money has been going in the UK. And because of that, the UK market is slightly different to the worldwide market. They're taking a more neutral view, and actually the US market, the Australian market, it's closer to a 50-50 shot.
Bit of 5-6, 10-11ish?
Yeah. So Joshua's slight favourite, but Klitschko a lot closer to even money than he is at the moment in the UK. And I think that is primarily because of the British money that's going on him. And I mean, people always call it a patriotic punt, and that's exactly what's happened here with Joshua.
Well, William Hill spent a fine figure of money, no doubt, sponsoring the fight. What do they need to see happen to recoup a little bit of money back?
We want to see a good fight, first and foremost. We've seen Joshua bang out a few guys in very early rounds. We want to see him really kind of, if he does go on to win, we want to see him show that he can go into the later stages of a fight. We want to show that he can be dominant, and even if he gets to the point where he does knock out Wladimir Klitschko, if he gets to the point and he's leading on points as well on the score, that'd be great.